within the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP. And Dr. Iyad Abomogli, please come forward. Founder and director of the Faith for Earth Initiative, will now present and introduce us to this statement, the Stockholm +50 Interfaith Statement, signed by approximately 200 signatories. 240. Faith-based organizations, representatives of indigenous cultures and wisdoms, religious leaders from all over the world. And you have been working with this, and you will explain now how this process has been.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Am I heard? Okay. Well, thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this official side event, one of the few side events that have been approved by Stockholm +50, and this is by itself is an achievement, having the faith community this platform to be able to talk about the role of religions in environment and development. And I'm so happy to finally meet some of you who have only met through the screen, Zooms and Teams and what have you. So I'm grateful for this opportunity. I will build on the excellent introduction that Peter has mentioned on how faith organizations have been contributing to development in all of its areas. And I would say that, you know, the world has an agenda to get us to the future we want, which is Agenda 2030. We should not forget that this is an agenda that was developed by millions of people to solve these environmental, developmental, socioeconomic problems. However, the main essence of the agenda, it is the responsibility of everybody and all of the stakeholders. Looking at the stakeholders segment in implementing the Agenda 2030, we found out that faith organizations have been marginalized for the past few decades. And this is why in UNEP, we thought of teaming up with religious institutions, interfaith organizations, faith-specific organizations to accelerate the role of stakeholders in the implementation of the SDGs. Basically, because we have forgotten the fourth element of sustainable development, which is the cultural element. And religions bring the cultural component into the tripartite of environment, economy, and social development. So in 2017, we came up with a UN environment strategy for engaging with faith-based organizations. And with discussions with many of the faith leaders, we have come up with three goals. The first goal is why we are all here, which is dialogue and engagement at the policy level, and giving the faith voices, of course, faith meaning religions, indigenous people, all people of faith, and value-based organizations. So engaging in policy dialogue is very important because we are bringing a different element into the equation of sustainability. We have been saying science and technology and all the policies do not work alone. They are not enough. So we need to introduce the spiritual and connections or interconnectedness between humans and their spiritual values and the environment. The second goal of the initiative is building on the second type of power. The first type we talked about, which is the convincing and convening powers. Religions being able to bring people together. The second power is their economic power. Faith organizations are the fourth largest economy on earth. They own assets in trillions of dollars. They own lands as much as 36 times of the size or area of the United Kingdom. So this is humongous. And they have a role not only to call for action, but to take action themselves. The third, which relates to religious literacy, is to make the scientific evidence available to religious leaders and the religious scriptures and understandings available to scientists and to policymakers. And this is why we have been publishing reports after reports, thematic papers, the book, the Faith for Earth book. Hope you have seen it. And it shows what are the essential connections between religions and the environment are. Basically, what we're saying is that values, ethics, morals, moral responsibility, spiritual connections have been missing from the equation of the development paradigm. The one that we have had so far, yes, have led to increase in GDP and to wealth of nations, but has not been translated into the prosperity of the people, and it was on the expense of the environment. So we are calling, and this is the call that I made this afternoon with the United Nations University on alternative paradigms, how to bring the values and ethics and spiritual connections into the equation of growth. Growth has to account for the natural capital as well as the spiritual capital of the people.
Thank you, Iyad. And if you want to download the interfaith statement, you can just scan the code for it on the screen. Iyad, thank you for guiding us through this process. In the statement, the ones signing it, they call for action from governments, from UN entities, from civil society, from others. And they also commit themselves to act. And several of the people who have signed are here in the room. So how will they be held accountable? Because it's easy to sign something, right?
Thank you, Esther. And this is exactly the point. We have signed an interfaith statement during UNEA 5.2, which was a historic statement, also read at the plenary of the UN Environment Assembly, which is the highest level global authority on environment. We have signed a statement to COP26 with 42 faith leaders at the highest level. And we have signed today 240 people, or I think 200 organizations have signed the interfaith statement to Stockholm Plus 50. But then what? Yeah. The problem is that we are making statements and calling people to action, and we commit ourselves as interfaith community to take action. But there is no accountability mechanism. What is needed to establish is to establish a body that is non-biased, that can bring people together, people of faith, organizations, and so on, and institutionalize our connection or our policy or role in policy making. And this is why UNEP is launching the Faith for Earth Coalition, which will be composed of 4 important councils. The first council is the Council of Eminent Faith Leaders. You know, those people at the level of Pope Francis, Imam al-Azhar, the head of Buddhists, and so on and so forth. So this eminent council will have a regular, frequent meetings to take stock of what has been committed and look internally to their organizations. What are we doing? And then we will have, results-based indicators and follow up on the commitments that have been made. The second council is the Council of Youth. They are the dynamo, the motor for change. And we have seen that young people are good activists in terms of environmental sustainability and so on. But also we would want to bring the ethical component and religious and spiritual connection of young people, because they will be the popes of the future, the imams of the future, and so on. So we want them to have the religious literacy that is needed. The third council is everybody is talking about science and how scientific evidence is necessary to achieve the goals. But science has somehow been far away from religious and spiritual way of thinking and providing solutions. So we want to bring those two powers, the power of science and power of religions, together. So we are launching the Religion Science Consortium. And the fourth council is the Council of CEOs of faith-based organizations, where actions happen on the ground, where they go to countries and local communities and provide assistance and support. However, this support has been, in providing poverty reduction, and providing disaster relief and support. We want all of that to be sustainably built and contribute to sustainable development and, of course, achieving the SDGs.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Give him an applause. Okay, so we are asking the